It's late, and you're on a lonely road in the Irish countryside, long after dark. And you hear it before you see it. Hoofbeats, heavy, fast, coming closer. A rider on a great black horse comes out of the night, and there's something wrong with him. The horse's eyes are burning, sparks fly from its hooves and its breath. And the man in the saddle? The man is holding something in his hand. He lifts it up, and by its own sickly glow you see what it is. It's a head. His head. Because the rider has no head on his shoulders. He carries it with him, a face the color of moldy cheese, split by a hideous grin that stretches from ear to ear, with small black eyes darting endlessly in every direction, and it glows, faintly, like a rotting lantern lighting his way. He rides up to a house, he stops, and in a low voice he speaks a single name. And the person whose name he spoke drops dead where they stand. This is the Dullahan, the Headless Horseman of Irish legend. And here is the part that has terrified the people of Ireland for a very long time. You cannot bar your door against him. You cannot lock him out. No gate, no bolt, no wall will stop him. When the Dullahan comes riding for a name, he always gets in. Welcome back to the campfire. Pull up a chair. The fire's warm, and the night is long. And there's more to this story than you've been told. Let's start with what he is, because every detail of him is a nightmare with a purpose. His name is Dullahan, ties to the Irish Gan Ceann, without a head. He is death on horseback. Sometimes he rides a black steed. Sometimes he drives a black coach pulled by black horses. A death coach that thunders down the roads at night. And the horse itself is no ordinary animal. Its eyes blaze like coals. Flames snort from its nostril and its hooves. Strikes spark from the stones, so that the whole apparition comes wreathed in an unnatural fire. But it's the head that people never forget. He holds it up, or tucks it under one arm, and it is a horror. The skin is dark and decaying, the color, the old stories say, of moldy cheese or stale dough. The mouth is a fixed grin that reaches from one ear to the other. The eyes are small and black and constantly restlessly moving, because with his head in his hand, he can lift it high and see for miles across the dark countryside, hunting for the house he's been sent to. And the head glows with a pale corpse light, which he uses as a lantern. And if the head weren't enough, consider his whip. In many tellings, the Dullahan carries a whip made from a human corpse's spine, and he cracks it as he rides. So that's what he looks like. Now here's what he does, and why he was so much more feared than a simple ghost. The Dullahan is a herald of death, and in Irish tradition, he's often spoken of in the same breath as the banshee. And there's a crucial difference between them. The banshee wails. She cries a warning, a grief from a distance. The Dullahan does something far more direct. The Dullahan rides. He rides to the exact spot where a death is about to happen, and when he arrives, he calls out the name of the person who is meant to die. That's it. There's no struggle, no attack, no long haunting. He simply speaks your name. And the moment he does, your soul is taken and you fall down dead. He doesn't cause a sickness or an accident. He is the moment of death itself arriving to collect. And you can't stop him. This is the detail that made every locked door in Ireland feel thin. It was said that all gates and locks fly open of their own accord when the Dullahan approaches. No barrier holds. If he's coming to your door is already open. There was one more rule, and it was a warning to the living. You were never, ever to watch him pass. If the Dullahan caught you spying on him as he rode by, he had two punishments. He might lash out with that spine whip and take out one of your eyes, or worse, he'd fling a basin of blood over you, drenching you, marking you as the next to die. The lesson was simple. When death rides by in the dark, you do not look. So we have an unstoppable rider who breaks every lock, speaks a name, and ends a life on the spot. It sounds like there's no defense against him at all. But there is one. Just one. And it's strangely, almost absurdly small. The Dullahan, this fearless headless horseman who no wall can stop and no bolt can bar, is terrified of gold. That's it. A single piece of gold. The old stories are consistent on this. If a traveler is caught on the road by the Dullahan, drops even a small gold coin or a gold pin in its path, the rider will let out a shriek and vanish into the night. The thing that death itself cannot break through, a locked door, means nothing to him, but a scrap of gold sends him fleeing, which tells you this isn't really a story about a monster. It's a story built out of very old beliefs. And to understand it, you have to go back further than the roads and the coaches, all the way back to the people who first imagined him. Because the most disturbing thing about the Dullahan, the severed head he carries, is also the most revealing. The ancient Celts had what historians call a cult of the head. To them, the head was not just a part of the body, it was a seat of the soul, and the very center of that person's power and spirit. Celtic warriors were headhunters in the most literal sense. They took the heads of their enemies in battle and kept them as trophies and sources of power, believing they held the essence of the fallen. Severed heads appear again and again in Celtic art and myth, carved in stone, held by gods, speaking after death. Now look again at the Dullahan. He is the ultimate expression of that ancient idea, a being defined entirely by the severed head he carries. He holds the seat of the soul in his own hand, and he uses it to hunt down yours. Some go further still, and trace him back to a specific figure, an old, fading god named Crom Dubh, a dark deity of the pre-Christian Irish, who in the grimmest tellings was honored with human sacrifice by beheading. When Christianity swept across Ireland, gods like Crom Dubh didn't simply disappear. They sank down into folklore, twisting into something darker, and some believe the Dullahan is what Crom Dubh became. A headless collector of lives, still riding on the roads long after his worship was forgotten, still demanding his due. So here's the honest verdict. The Dullahan is not a creature anyone ever caught, or photographed, or dug up. There's no single documented night, no pamphlet, no court record. He is pure folklore, passed down by word of mouth, and finally written down in the 1800s by collectors like Thomas Crofton, Crocker, and later W.B. Yeats, who gathered the old fireside tales of Ireland before they were lost. But he is precise folklore, because look at what he actually is. Underneath the flaming horse and the glowing head, the Dullahan is the personification of one specific universal terror, sudden death. Not the slow death you see coming and can prepare for, the other kind. The kind that arrives without warning. The kind no locked door can keep out, because death gets into every house eventually. The kind that simply speaks your name, and it's done. The Irish look at that unbearable idea that death can come for anyone at any moment and there is nothing you can bolt shut against it. And they gave it a face. They gave it the severed head their ancestors had revered for 1,000 years. They gave it a black horse and a whip of bone. And they gave it just one weakness, a gleam of gold, because people have always needed to believe there was something, some charm, some small bright thing that could hold the dark at bay for one more night. He even rode across the ocean. The Dullahan is widely named as one of the roots of the most famous headless rider of all, Washington Irving's Headless Horseman of Sleepy Hollow. The image was too powerful to stay in Ireland, and nearly 2 centuries after the folklorists wrote him down, he's still with us, because the fear that made him has never gone anywhere. Somewhere out there is a road you'll walk on one day without knowing it's the last time. And the oldest part of your mind still listens on a dark night for hoofbeats. So here's my question for you. Is the Dullahan just a story the Irish told to give shape to the fear of dying? Or would you, on a black night, on a lonely road, still reach into your pocket for something gold? Tell me down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this one, hit like and subscribe, because history is full of the faces we've carved for death, and we're far from done meeting them in the dark. Every legend starts at the fire. This one doesn't wail a warning like the Banshee. He only ever says your name once, and that's all the warning you get.